And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Cheap Ludes back with another tier list. Little two for I'm gonna do two today, possibly three, and then I'll finish up over the next day or so. So we're gonna be talking about the small forward position in NBA 2K22. My team. This is part three. If you haven't watched the shooting guards and the point guards, you should definitely go do that. I'll link them at the end of the video. Either way, look, the small forward position is typically the worst position in my team. At least for the last couple of years, that's kind of how it's been. This year, totally different. Like the small forward position is arguably, right now at least, the best position in all of NBA 2K22, my team. It's actually kind of crazy. So, for those of you who haven't seen the other videos, I'll go through the parameters. S tier, unquestionable best cards in the game. Now, this one gets tricky with this tier because there's so many good options to go through. And I'll try to explain why each of the guys are in S tier and why they're there as opposed to some of the A tier guys. A tier, just a shade under S tier. Now, in this tier specifically, the difference between the A tier guys and the S tier guys are very, very minuscule. The S tier guys are just more overall complete, in my opinion, in every aspect of basketball. The A tier guys just might be a shade below them. But if you're using a guy in A tier and you prefer that guy, especially if he's free, definitely still use him. B tier, just a shade under A tier. These are the cards you're going to run into most in regards to what the community is using. Most of the time, if you go on Unlimited or something like that, most teams are going to include at least one of these guys in B tier in some capacity. C tier, very middle of the pack cards. I'll kind of go into them and why they're there as opposed to being in like B tier or A tier or even D tier. You know what I mean? D tier, specialist guys. Certain people are going to be able to take these cards and make them work very effectively, but most people are not. F tier, look, you can upgrade. Yeah, you might like using these cards, and that's totally fine, but for the most part, you can upgrade. No trash tier, because I don't think any cards at this point are trash. I additionally try to rank between both current gen and next gen, and I try to rank without accommodating badge upgrades. So yes, if you badge a card up, it is going to be slightly better than a card that's not badged up. But is it going to be better than that same card badged up as well? That's why I don't do badge upgrades. So let's get started with Mike Miller. Non-Evo'd, he's probably D tier. Evo'd, he's C tier. He's a pretty good 3-point sniper. He's got some decent size, not the greatest defender. I would say C tier, probably middle of the pack, possibly lower of the pack. Pretty appropriate for Mike Miller. Shout out to Mike Miller, dude. For what? I don't know. Level 40 Carmelo. S. No question. You can get every badge in the game. I do like to incorporate that at least. He is wet from everywhere. He's sick. I'm still not sure if he can shoot from the corners on current gen. If he cannot, that is definitely something that I don't know why 2K has not fixed yet. But he's still going to be probably the best small forward in the game, similar to how Paul Pierce was like the best small forward in the game last year around the same time, even though on current gen, which we didn't even have next gen, that he couldn't shoot from the corners. He cannot play shooting guard, which is unfortunate, but Carmelo is an absolute beast. Tim Hardaway Jr. He is better than Mike Miller, but I think when it comes down to it, he's probably going to end up being on the same tier as Mike Miller. He's just not quite good enough to put in B tier. For certain people, like, they definitely are going to like Tim Hardaway. He is a little bit small at the actual small forward position. He plays better at the shooting guard, in my opinion. Some people may differ on that one, whatever. I just think badge-wise, he's a little bit too low to be up in B tier at this current stage. Evo'd Talen Horton-Tucker. If he had a better release, he'd be B tier for sure, but because of his release, I would say C tier. His release timing is fine. He just shoots the ball very low, so especially on next gen, it's very easy to contest and block. For that reason, that's what keeps him in C tier. Like I said, if he had a different release, like if he had Tim Hardaway's release, he'd be in B tier. Cam Reddish. I don't think he's going to be very high in B tier, but he's B tier. Like Cam Reddish is a monster dunker. He plays great defense, easy to green jump shot, great overall stats. This is essentially a ruby or an amethyst hidden as a sapphire. That's like the best way I can describe it. Andrew Wiggins. I think Andrew Wiggins is probably C tier. I wish he could shoot a little bit better and his badge count was a little better. He's not that much worse than Cam Reddish. Like, I'll put him in B tier for now. Anthony Edwards, as much as I like this card, I would put him in C tier. He's just a little bit undersized for the small forward. 6'5" isn't awful, but it's not like he's outdated. But some of the colossal cards came out day one. You know what I mean? This is why I didn't do tier lists like that first week, because it was just kind of pointless. There was like 14 cards per position. You know what I mean? Bernard King. See? Yeah, I mean, he's a really good defender and a really good dunker, and he cracks mid-ranges. I hope we get actual updated Bernard King cards this week because we didn't, or this year, period, because we didn't get like any last year and that sucked. Jamal Wilkes. As much as I like Jamal Wilkes and I think he's pretty decent, I would put him in C tier. I don't think he's as good as Andrew Wiggins, and I think there's a couple more like defensive oriented guys that might be better than him anyway. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in C. Glenn Robinson. This one's going to ruffle feathers, but I honestly believe Glenn Robinson is A tier, and I'll explain why. The guys that are in S tier, I think all three of them are better than him. Like, that's just simple fact. I truly believe that. Now, if you want to say Glenn Robinson is S tier, I could totally understand that, especially him being a free card. People tend to overrate free cards a little bit. I love Glenn Robinson. Like, there's no question about it. Like, he's really, really good. Like, at almost everything. Like, there's not really much he's not great at. I wish he was a slightly better defender. That is literally it. Like, he is an above average defender for sure. He can handle the rock. He can do a little bit of everything. I wish his Hoff badges were a little better. You can't give him Deadeye, Chef, or Limitless Spot Up, and I think that does hurt him a little bit compared to someone like Carmelo, who you can give those badges to. You know what I mean? Glenn does have a great jump shot. He is great overall. I just think like top of A tier makes sense for him. Karis LeVert. I think he's probably the worst card in B tier, but B tier makes sense for him. Karis LeVert's really, really good. Like, he's just slightly, I can't even say he's slightly worse than Terrence Ross. He's like very similar to Terrence Ross. You know what I mean? Chris Mullin, who looks exactly like Michael C. Hall for some reason in this photo, I would put him in C tier. I mean, Chris Mullin's usually good in 2K, especially since base 22 kind of became like a meta jump shot. Chris Mullin has been a lot better. And he's overall pretty solid. He's not really handling the rock too much, but he doesn't have his patented flat top, which means I hate this card, but it is what it is. I'm going to move. Now, Bernard King's fine here. Steven Jackson. This Steven Jackson, I think, is the most slept on card in the Amethyst tier in the token market. He's really, really good, just like he always is. Like, he's always really good in 2K. He's never the greatest, but he's always very serviceable, and that's exactly what this card is. I wish his badge count was a little bit higher, but B tier kind of makes sense for Steven Jackson. Chuck Person is not good. He's like way worse Bernard King. I do not like Chuck Person, and if you do, I'm sorry. Dale Ellis. A. He is better than everyone in B tier for sure. I will tell you right now, Glenn Robinson is better than Dale Ellis, but Dale Ellis still deserves to be on the same tier as Glenn Robinson. Like, Dale Ellis is one of the best 3 and D cards in the game, and at the small forward position, you can do a lot worse than using Dale Ellis. Like, he's that good. Starter Danilo Gallinari. C. Gallo base is pretty solid this year. I mean, he's an 87 starter card. He's not really the greatest card in the world, but he's not as bad as Chuck Person. So, Danny Granger. All right, this is the one I knew people were going to be upset about this. Like, look, it's 2K. 2K always makes the card that you have to spend money on better than the one that you can get for free. Okay? Danny Granger is just a better version of Glenn Robinson, and I know that might make people angry to hear, but it's factual. Danny Granger moves better. He's a little bit better defensively. It may not look like that, but I promise you he is. He blocks shots at a way higher clip because he's just massive. Like, his player build is just so big. Danny Granger is an absolute monster. Like, this card is so stupid. Is he worth locking in like 300K? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I got to give credit where credit's due. This Danny Granger card is stupid. Larry Cannon. C tier. Yeah. I mean, he's pretty decent. He just can't shoot threes. That's it. But he can ball handle. He can dunk. He can play defense. He can rebound. He can do almost everything else. Pink Diamond Allen Houston. B tier. He plays like no defense whatsoever, but he is a sniper. Like, he has one of the best jump shots in the game. I have not run into this card once in the wild. Like, I'm convinced like no one has this card yet. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, and they just don't use it. Because the people that would have this card, because he's a collector level, are going to be people who wouldn't end up using him anyway, because they have like everybody else. But Allen Houston's still good. Kawhi Leonard. I would put him in A. If he had better ball handling and a better driving dunk, I could see him being S tier because of his jump shot and Kawhi Leonard defense. But I would put him in A tier. That's just me, though. TJ Warren. B tier. He's really, really good. Super solid. If you grinded for this card, yeah, continue using him. He's still super sick. Like, there's nothing wrong with this card whatsoever. I wish he had a little bit more in the shooting badge department, but other than that, super wet. Diamond Larry Canaan. Like literally Diamond Larry Canaan is not that much different than the Sapphire Larry Canaan, and for that reason I would put him in C tier. He's a little bit better at a rebounding. That's about it. Gerald Wallace. Gerald Wallace is so good defensively that I would put him in B tier. I just wish he had more shooting badges and could shoot just a little bit better. Then I think he might even be close to like A tier. But Darius Miles. I love Darius Miles. You guys know that. You know I love Darius Miles. He is lacking on the defensive end, but offensively, he's great. Once his jump shot is weird, but once you get the timing down, he's super wet. He can ball handle. He can attack the rim. I wouldn't play him. I play him at the 4 a lot, and I regret it almost every single time because he gets bullied inside. But the card itself is fire. Xavier McDaniel. I mean, he's better than Chuck Person. I can say that for sure. He's not that much different than Larry Canaan, for being honest. Dunktober Vince Carter. I would put him in A tier. I don't quite think he's an S tier small forward. Now, as a shooting guard, he's absolutely S tier. He's like the best shooting guard in the game. But like as a small forward, I would say that he's probably an A tier small forward, if that makes sense. It's just not for me. I have the card. I'm going to sell him. I don't know. Sean Elliott. Sean Elliott is very good. I would put him in C tier. I can't wait till we get an upgraded Sean Elliott with better shooting badges because he's going to be literally like A or S tier. Dominique Wilkins. I mean, he's a good dunker. He plays okay defense. That's what I have to say about him. Gus Garrard. Gus Garrard's really good. If you were lucky enough to get this card when he was available on TT Online, you still have a very serviceable small forward / power forward. He's still super good. I might even put him in A tier. If this was a power forward tier list, I'd probably put him. He might be in B still, but he might be in A. Jalen Rose. Another slept on card from the token market, but C tier nonetheless. Kiki Vanderwee. I don't know why they keep making Kiki Vanderwee cards so terrible. You know what? Chuck Person going F tier. I don't care. But he is just not good. Jamal Mashburn, he is really slept on. Jamal Mashburn is actually really solid. He can kind of do everything. Now, that being said, is he somebody you should use over like a Steven Jackson or a Gerald Wallace? No, he's much better at the power forward position, but he's still pretty decent. Steve Smith is like a way worse version of Kevin Martin. Like, that's kind of what he's like. Not quite as good defensively, not quite as good offensively, but still like C tier. Jerome Kersey. He can play defense. That's about it. He can dunk really hard, though. That I will say. But I would still use Bernard King over him. He's like a worse version of Bernard King. Colossal Julius Erving. I would put him in B tier. Julius Erving's fine. Jumaine Jones. He's bad. He is not good. Base set Kawhi. I mean, he's all right. Yeah, and C. Like, if you got the dynamic duo with David Robinson, I believe, he's pretty okay. He's not that much worse. With the dynamic duo, he's not that much worse than the Amethyst, but Kelly Oubre Jr., I put him in C tier as well. He's okay. He's a good stretch 4 or stretch 3, whatever you want to use him as. Kelly Tripucka. Yo, this is my guy. I love Kelly Tripucka. He is wet from the outside. He has just the dustiest mustache mullet combo that I love so much. Kelly Tripucka is sick. But really, in NBA 2K terms, like, he's got a wet jump shot. He plays pretty good defense. He can attack the rim. Kelly Tripucka is B tier all the way. I would say he's better than Cam Reddish. I would say Darius Miles is slightly better. Base set LeBron. If he has Austin Carr, he's like top C tier. If he doesn't, he's like by Kawhi and Kelly Oubre, like down at the bottom of C tier. Michael Finley. I don't know what they do to Michael Finley cards, but they just make them so bad, and it's so frustrating. ML Carr. Remember how I was saying that there was better versions of Jamal Wilkes? ML Carr is the better version of Jamal Wilkes. Like, ML Carr is great. He just lacks some offensive production. That's it. Other than that, he's really, really nice. I would take Wiggins and throw him like here by Julius Erving. Yeah. No, you know, ML Carr is better than Cam Reddish. I don't care if Cam Reddish can shoot. ML Carr is that good defensively. Paul Pressey, D. Okay, I guess. Peja Stojakovic. I would put him in C tier. Honestly, he's not that bad. Like, his jump shot is horrendous to look at, but it's actually, on current gen, it's relatively easy to time because the jump shot timing is so fast. And that could have a lot to do with me switching between mainly next gen and then going to play current gen. Him having that slower jump shot is easier for me because next gen, all jump shots are slower. So maybe that's why I like him, but he doesn't really ball handle that well. And then also, he's kind of sluggish and it's hard for him to get around people to even activate dunks. So that's kind of an issue. But if you use him as a catch and shoot and cutter, he's not bad. Rick Barry. I mean, Rick Barry's like C tier. Like, he's decent offensively. His hairpiece doesn't come off like while you're playing, so that's pretty cool. Honestly, if it did, I would give him B tier, but 2K didn't capitalize on that. Austin Carr. I mean, D. He's okay. There's just a bunch of guys who do what he does better in C tier. Harrison Barnes. Evo'd Harrison Barnes is actually pretty good. I would put him like right here. He plays decent defense. He attacks the rim. He shoots pretty well. There's not a whole lot of holes in this guy's game. He's just not the best at anything. You know what I mean? LeBron James. S. Yeah, LeBron is S for sure. He is hands down, without a doubt, the most annoying defensive card in this entire game. They made him so big for no reason. He's so fast. He will block you more than Pink Diamond Kareem will. I promise. I'm not even kidding. If the person you're playing against knows what they're doing with LeBron, he will block you more than any other card in the game. He will run across the entirety of the court to come block you from either behind, the side, or front. It doesn't matter. He will always be there. And then if he even has like an inch of space, he will take off from just unimaginable lengths away from the court, or from the hoop, and dunk on you. He's so stupid. I hate this card so much. Like, there's a reason he's so expensive. He is one of the best small forwards in the game. Most people use him at power forward. I don't even care. I'm throwing him in S tier. He's annoying. Rolando Blackman. I mean, D or C. It doesn't really matter. I guess I'll put him in C. And finally, base set Scottie Pippen. Great defensive card. For that reason, I'll put him in C tier. That is the list. Look, I like these early game tier lists because there's not 100 cards for me to rank, so that's always really fun. And people seem to not really care too much, about the actual ranking themselves. They tend to actually listen to the people doing the ranking. Once we get to like January, that's where everyone thinks they're a My Team expert, and they're like, which I'm not even a My Team expert, dude. These are like, as much as I try not to influence them with personal biases, yeah, they're a little bit influenced by personal biases. C, Glenn Robinson in A tier, S tier, Danny Granger for a good example of that, regardless how hard I try. So stay tuned for the power forward and the center tier list. As always, it's been your boy Cheap Ludes. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Like this video. Try to offset the eventual 2 to 3 dislikes I get on every video, no matter what I do. I could be giving away $5,000, and people would still dislike the video. It's just crazy. YouTube's fun. I love it. It's so much fun. Stay tuned. I'll be back with more videos tomorrow. Peace out, guys.